Okay, so we're back. The light and the laptop do not like sharing a power source, I guess. That's good to know. Either that or the power source built into the cabinet isn't powerful enough to actually charge this laptop while it's running, which is a little unusual, but it just wasn't charging at all. And it is charging now, so there's that. Unfortunately, no light. So maybe if Joss can get it working, that'd be great. Otherwise...
Maybe, but the audio sounds horrible.
Oh, hang on.
I know we like fix one problem and then move on to another one.
Yeah, trying to fix all the problems. Hang on. There we go. And back to the razor. There we go. Okay, this should be... Yeah, okay. So this should be actually recording from the audio, hopefully. The proper audio channels. Oh, hey, that might work. Sure, good enough. Oh, ow. Oh, okay. Yep. Yep, that's bright. Might, can we turn that down a little bit? Sorry. Thank you. Appreciate it. Or, a little bit more than that. Well, alright, fine. This is what I get. Hi. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. We're back. Hopefully without an issue this time.
Do you want me to ping everybody again?
Just say at everyone we're back. Sorry. That was my bad. Or kind of. Yeah, it was. I'll take the responsibility. Anyway, now that we've gotten that over with, my apologies. We're back to cooking the skillet makers. I was very tempted to make this a YouTube video. It would have worked much better. We would have done the same shit. This would have all gone wrong. However, you wouldn't have seen it. That's the important part. You wouldn't have seen it. Anyway, we're back. So we have our lemons that we've cut. I should have zested the lemon before I cut it, but I wanted to show you the knives because they're really cool and I like them.
Real quick.
Uh-huh.
It's not lagging as much. Like you're not that far behind.
Well, great. Maybe you just need to restart. Alright, we have this. We usually use a hand squeezer thing. However, this is more visual, so I'm going to use this.
Yeah, but that's also more of a pain in the ass.
But it's more visual.
I have to clean it.
But it's more visual. If I move my hands away from it, it's more visual anyway. Okay, and remember that when you're seeing something on YouTube or on Twitch or whatever, it always takes 3 times as long to film and show you than it does to actually do the thing. So when you're seeing this and you're going, well, it's taking a long time to get through this. Well, most of this has been technical difficulties, which obviously you wouldn't have when you're just cooking in a kitchen. However, remember that I'm trying to like show you this and get around the camera and everything and get some good angles in here and watching myself on the camera to make sure that that's happening. So it's taking longer for me to do this than it would for you to do this in your own kitchen. This takes me all of like 20 minutes in my own kitchen. Like this whole process from start to finish takes me like 20 minutes. So when this takes an hour and a half, understand. So yes, like I said, I really should have, and my brain turns off when I'm on camera as well, so I would have zested this before I cut it, but I really wanted to show you the sharp knives and like show you how it works. So, sorry. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, so we've got our lemon juice. We're going to zest our lemons, or at least attempt to. Worst case scenario, just grab another lemon. All right, I'm just going to grab another lemon. This is not going to, no, there's no way. I'm going to wash another lemon. This one's adorable. It's tiny. Alright. Dry it off super quick. Now, the point of lemons is for acid. Now, the point of acid is to enhance a dish. So, here's the thing about salt and acid. So, a lot of people undersalt their dishes. Now, that's not a bad thing. However, your dish is improved if you just add a little bit of salt to it normally. If you taste, like if you're adding, let's say you're relatively okay at cooking, like I was a few years ago. And you're like, well, I keep adding all these spices to my dish, but it just doesn't taste like there's any spice in it. It tastes bland. What you have to do is you have to add some salt. Just take a pinch of salt, sprinkle it in your dish, a couple of pinches. If you're really not tasting anything, grab a couple of pinches of salt. Sprinkle it in your dish, stir it around, taste it again. Does everything taste better? The answer probably will be yes. Then what you should do is keep adding salt until it's not quite too salty. Like basically, this takes a lot of practice. Well, I say a lot of practice. It takes a little bit of practice, mostly judgment. It takes judgment. You kind of have to know when your dish is going to be too salty soon. But the first couple of dishes won't be perfect, but they'll be better than what you've made previously, and you'll improve. So what you do is you add in a little bit of salt, and you say, okay, this tastes good. However, if you're finding that you're adding salt and the dish is getting salty, however, it's still not getting that pop that you want. It's still not tasting good, right? Then what you're missing is acid. And acid comes from lemons and limes and also Dijon mustard. So with those three, you should be able to make just about any dish acidic without making it taste bad. Because let's say you want to make like a mac and cheese with like yellow cheese. Lemon is not going to work super well in a mac and cheese. It's just not going to taste right, especially if you add too much lemon. Now, if you add too much lemon in a shrimp dish, it actually tastes lemony, which is fantastic. It's lovely. That's all well and good. If you add too much lemon in a yellow cheese dish, that just tastes weird and honestly not very good. So for those, you use Dijon mustard. Now for like I said, a shrimp dish, you add lemon. For like a pico de gallo, you add lime. So it depends on the dish, but generally lemon, lime, and Dijon mustard are the acidity that you need for whatever dish that you're making. There's other forms of acidity that you can use, but those are the common household ones. Just buy a couple lemons, a couple limes, and some Dijon mustard, and you can pretty much make any dish the right acidity that you want. Like I said, so acid. That's what we're going for here. Since this is a chicken and kind of a cream sauce pasta, we want lemon in here. So that's what we're going to do. So now we're actually going to start. So this, again, assuming I was just in my own kitchen doing this on my free time without, recording or streaming it, all of this together would have taken me like 2.5 minutes. So just be aware of that. So get some lemon zest, get some lemon juice, get some salt, pepper, your chicken, cube it, preferably pre-salt it. That would be ideal. However, you don't have to for this particular dish because we're cutting into small cubes. Make sure your mise en place, your milk and your butter, and kind of go wild. What we're going to do is we're going to, in a skillet, cook the chicken until it reaches an internal temperature of whatever the fuck I feel like, and then remove and set aside. So we're going to do medium-high heat. And we are going to use some olive oil. Now, I know very little about olive oil, unfortunately. I wish I could say I knew more. I know very little about olive oil. What I do know about olive oil is that Italy is the best place to get olive oil. And most olive oil that you find at the store won't be from Italy. And the stuff from Italy will generally be more expensive, but maybe not the most expensive. And there's practically no way to tell what is actually from Italy and what is not. However, it is better for the humans involved and for the environment if you buy olive oil from Italy. So I hope that this is olive oil from Italy. I do not know. I'm sorry for any Italians watching going, no, that's cheap American bullshit. I'm sorry, I tried. If it is, great. Fantastic, that's what I was aiming for. If not, I'm sorry and I tried.
I was gonna say, so did you put a pan on there?
Yep.
Okay.
So we got a pan, putting some olive oil in the pan. Now here's the thing about olive oil and butter. So with olive oil, so you cook things in fat generally. So if you've ever read the book Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, I have not yet. However, I've gained a lot of information off of it from the internet. But I do intend on reading it. So Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat is a great book that is designed to kind of teach you the ways around salt, fat, acid, and heat. Now, this is using this is using all four of those. We're using acid for lemons, our fat is our butter, and our olive oil. Our salt, well, we'll just add salt. And our heat, obviously, is going to be the pan over there. So the main difference between butter and olive oil that you want to note when you're using them is that olive oil is designed to be used at high temperatures, whereas butter is not. So if you're using olive oil, what you want to do is you want to get it on a pan and you want to get it heated up. You want to actually heat the olive oil up to higher temperatures before you put whatever you're putting in there, in this case chicken, in. So before I put this chicken in the pan, I want to make sure that olive oil is hot. The opposite is true with butter. With butter, you want to make sure it's barely just melted before you start adding stuff into it. The reason for that is that butter has milk product in it. And if that butter gets too hot, if it gets too high before you start using it, you're going to burn that milk and it's going to taste kind of like burned butter, which is not a fantastic taste unless that's what you're specifically going for, but very few dishes use that. And that's really not generally what you're going for. So butter you want to be just barely melted at a slightly lower temperature before you add in your chicken or whatever else you're going to add into it. Generally, you don't put chicken in butter, but you get the idea. Herbs. And with olive oil, you want it to be hot before you put your chicken or beef or whatever into it. So we're going to wait for that to heat up. I should have done that before. One of the things I'm not very good at, generally, is time management in the kitchen. That's actually one of the things I'm the worst at. Time management in the kitchen is not my strong suit. I tend to have things waiting while I'm waiting for oil to heat up, or I tend to have things kind of out of order. When I get them done eventually, I'll end up with stuff that's done at different times and I'll have to reheat some stuff. It's just something I'm generally not very good at. So sorry, we're gonna wait here a minute is basically what I'm saying. It's a roundabout way of saying that. Now there's a couple of ways that you can really test that olive oil is hot or hot enough to use. The most basic way is the water test. Oil and water don't mix. Please don't dump a whole bunch of oil into hot water into oil or vice versa. However, what you can do is you can wet your hand and just put your hand over the pan and just drip a single drop of water into the oil. And if it splatters all over the place, then you've got hot oil. However, the slightly safer way, and actually it's really not that dangerous, but splattering oil is never fun to clean up. So the slightly safer way is just to test the viscosity of the oil by just moving the pan around. If the oil starts moving basically like water, that's probably when it's about high enough. Or at least close to high enough that it probably won't matter too much if you add stuff in there early. I tend to go, myself, when I look at it, I tend to roll it around the pan. If it's rolling like water, then I'll wait like another maybe minute or so, 45 seconds to a minute, then I'll start adding stuff into it. And some basic safety in the kitchen, always important. Something that I notice a lot, something that we were taught in culinary, but when I see it a lot in just households as well. And knife safety is a thing, but most people are careful enough around knives. That doesn't matter too much. However, pan safety. A lot of the time, I will see people have their pans. Let's turn the surface light on. Sitting like this. So you can kind of barely see that. Let me move some stuff out of the way for you so that way you can actually see it. And normally I would have like a second camera or something, but in this case we're kind of roughing it, so we're just gonna do this all in one shot. Maybe move the camera around, depending, probably not though. So a lot of the time I will see people with their pans like this, and what's gonna happen, you're gonna walk by, or you're gonna bump it, and suddenly you're gonna have hot oil everywhere, or whatever you're cooking on the ground. What you want to do is you want to take this handle and point it either to the back of the stove or point it to the side or something. That's a little thing that some people do subconsciously and some people don't. But when I see people that don't do it subconsciously, it makes me want to scream, because it's like you're just asking to bump into that and then have oil or whatever, chicken or whatever all over the floor. So just like I said, maybe you already do this, but if you don't, just make it a habit of taking your frying pan handle and just pointing it away from you. And then you won't ever spill anything ever again, really. It's fantastic. Okay, so this is starting to run like water. Starting to. I'm going to wait another about 45 seconds, maybe a minute, and then we're going to dump our chicken in. It's going to probably sizzle. I hope it sizzles. If it sizzles, that's good. That means I have the oil to a high enough temperature, my fat at a high enough temperature. If not, it's fine, but it's not ideal. And so the step 2, I did read these beforehand, but I want to reread these. Step 2 is to add the milk, water, butter, seasoning, and pasta to the skillet and bring to a boil. So we are going to add a little bit more than that. So for a white sauce, spices that I would normally add are, especially for this dish, it looks like we're going to be doing, since we don't have spinach, spinach adds green color. So important note about, I'm getting off on a tangent here a little bit, but important note about food colors. With the chicken on the, you can see on the front of the box, if you just look at the front of any box, really, you're going to see a lot of color on it, and especially the back here as well. Looks like they chopped up some tomatoes and put them in here for some red color. But the chicken is going to be brown. Well, in our case, it's probably not going to be brown. You're going to have a white sauce and white pasta and white chicken, basically. Everything's just going to be white. So what you really want to do is you want to add some color to it. You want to add some green and some red to it. So it looks like here, like I said, they chopped up some cherry tomatoes maybe and throw those in. But they also have the spinach in here to add some green. So we want to add some color to this pasta. So we're going to do that, not by chopping up spinach, but we are going to use, come on, where are you? Let's see here, we got, yeah, we're just going to use some cilantro. We're going to add some cilantro onto the top of that, and it'll taste great. And by taste great, I mean it'll practically taste like nothing because it's a dried herb. However, it's going to add color. That's the important part. We want it to add color. Yes, I know my hand is dangerously close to the tip of this knife, and this knife is very sharp. I've done that like 4 or 5 times now, and I'm like, every single time I'm like, I should really move my hand away. Or just move the knife away. Yeah, I think we're going to go with that, and I'm going to add a little bit. I added too much last time. I keep doing this. I add too much cayenne. We're going to add a little bit of cayenne. We're not going to overdo it. Every time I make a pasta dish, I like to add a little bit of cayenne into it. A little bit goes a long way. I tend to add too much. I don't know why or how. I really don't like spice at all. So I'm not sure how in the world I keep doing this, but I keep doing it. I'm going to try really hard not to add too much cayenne this time. It doesn't taste bad. It's just more spicy than you really want in a pasta dish especially. So we're going to have a little bit of cayenne, a little bit. Anyway, our oil is definitely more than not enough by now. So we're going to throw this in there. Okay. Yeah, you can try it. She's moving the camera. She's trying to move the camera. If this doesn't work out, you'll know why. Suddenly my frame rate is gone. It's okay. And no, it's actually just the network. That might have not been you. It was a big coincidence. That's good now. Okay. Trying really hard not to get in your way. Not working. Going to add a little bit more salt and pepper. Two things about salt and pepper. One, it's vitally important that you salt and pepper everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm working on it.
Okay.
Hold it.
So, it is vitally important that you salt and pepper every single component of your dish. So, when you add chicken to a pan, you salt and pepper it. Then when you add the pasta to the pan, you salt and pepper that. Actually, you don't pepper the pasta, but you still salt it. Then when you add the other ingredients, you salt and pepper them as well. Vitally important that you salt and pepper each part of your dish so it tastes like it's all supposed to be there. Now, as far as salt goes, and pepper, fresh grinding your pepper is one of the best things that you can do. If you have pre-ground pepper, so what happens with grinding is, getting on a tangent here again, as you can tell by my, oh yeah, let's go on a whole different sentence. In the middle of my previous sentence. Give me 1 second while I stir this. So, I'm trying to stir this and talk to the camera at the same time. So, with I guess that sort of works. Yeah, it works well enough. Okay, so with
Sorry.
I want to zoom out.
I'm working on it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Okay, all right.
Stop it.
Okay, all right. I'm going on a tangent, but okay, there we go. I guess that actually works out super well, thank you. So, with salting and peppering, there we go. So, if you have pepper that is pre-ground, or just any spice or herb that is pre-ground or pre-chopped, what will happen is it will lose its flavor very, very quickly. Like, within the first 10, 15, 20 minutes after cutting an herb or a spice, it will, there we go, it will start to the flavor will start to deteriorate very quickly. In fact, after the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, it'll pretty much be gone. So any bite that your pepper might have had or anything, it's going to just die and disappear. So, if you have pre-ground spices, or pre-ground herbs, pre-chopped herbs, what you want to do to make them last as long as possible is put them in a cool, dry space, much like a drawer, like a spice drawer. And that will let them keep as long as possible. However, they're still not going to keep forever. I mean, they're going to keep forever, but they're not going to keep their flavor forever. So it's fairly important that when you get spices, You put them in a warm, or sorry, a cool, dry place, not a warm, dry place. A cool, dry, a cool, dry, dark place, and that you keep them there for as long as you can. Use them occasionally, yeah. However, because they're pre-ground or pre-chopped, they're going to have not nearly as much flavor. I'm trying to talk to that because it's in the... I know. Generally, I try and talk to the camera. However, I try and talk to both the microphone and the camera. Looking at the camera and talking to the microphone is very hard, but because of the way voice works, my voice is projecting this way now, and it's not getting much into the microphone. It's a trade-off, I'm sorry. So, and looking at the microphone instead of the camera is super awkward for the audience, I'm sure. As this cooks, you can actually see that this chicken is super white, and that's kind of the problem that we're going to tackle. But anyway, when you're grinding herbs and spices, or when you get herbs and spices, you should attempt as much as possible to buy them unground, like to buy them whole, and then to grind them yourself just before you're about to use them. That will give you the most flavor. Pepper especially generally comes in like a pepper grinder or a pepper mill. You almost always want to use, you really always want to use fresh pepper that you grind right there rather than pre-ground pepper, because that pre-ground pepper, again, within 10-15 minutes of it being packaged up before it even hits the shelf, is already lost 99% of its flavor. So you want to, especially pepper, buy pre-ground. Or, sorry, not buy pre-ground, buy whole and then not grind it until you need it. Salt, on the other hand, there are salt grinders. However, salt is just a rock, and as such, it doesn't actually suffer any flavor loss after it's been ground. So salt you can buy already ground, and that's fine. However, it is much easier and nicer to use giant salt flakes, like sea salt flakes, than it is to use ground salt. If you have big flaky chunks of salt, like this, it's much easier. I didn't even know that we had that much salt. I thought we were out. Okay, well, that's good to know. So that's big flaky salt. I generally tend to use this, but we've been out for a while and I've been meaning to get more. Apparently we got more. So, using this is much, much better than using smaller salt. It's much easier. The reason I say it's better is not because it tastes better. That doesn't matter. It's easier to control. When you're using big flaky salt like that, you can use more of it and have less salt in your dish, which sounds counterproductive. However, it's very important because then you can very easily grab this big flaky salt, big like chunks of salt that like this is, that's huge. You can easily grab that big flaky salt in your fingers, and you end up with less saltiness than if you did these tiny little granules of salt that you cannot pick up very well. So it's actually very important to get these big flaky chunks when you can, if you can. Note that they are very expensive, so you don't have to, but it will improve your cooking, I promise. So these are pretty much cooked, so we're going to just let that sit.
Everything is good when it comes to...
Excellent. And then I'm going to read the second instruction again because I totally forgot. Add milk, water, butter, seasoning, and pasta to skillet to bring to a boil. Okay. So we are going to add our milk, add our water plus milk, and that's going to pretty much immediately stop the cooking process on that chicken, because what we're doing is we're adding a bunch of heat to that chicken in order to cook it. But the second we add a bunch of milk, cold milk, or even just room temperature milk, it's going to immediately suck out all the heat that we just added to it. And so that's going to pretty much immediately stop the cooking process on the chicken. So it's pretty important that you got your chicken right before you even do this. Looks like someone kind of crushed up that pasta before they gave it to us. That's very nice of them. Okay, so here's normally where I would say add some more salt and pepper, and I just spilled a bunch everywhere. Nice, go me. Now here's normally where I would say add a bunch of salt and pepper. However, this seasoning packet almost certainly has a bunch of salt in it. So I'm not going to add more salt until I actually taste this pasta later on, when this is kind of more cooked and cohesive. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to stir it in and kind of wait for it to get back up to temperature. We're going to turn it up to like medium high, like a super medium high. And we're going to let it boil, as it says. And after that, reduce heat, add spinach if using. So we're not using spinach, but this is where we'd add it. Cover and simmer 14 to 17 minutes or desired tenderness. So we're going to check it. And then stir occasionally to prevent sticking. So one of the biggest things about stirring this is that it has a bunch of milk in it. If you let it sit here for 15, 17, 20 minutes, you're going to burn the milk on the bottom. So you want to stir it occasionally. It says occasionally. Everyone says occasionally. What the fuck does occasionally mean? Occasionally means like once every couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes. That's occasionally. There we go. Kind of clean as you go, or at least attempt to. Oh, thank you. Cleaning as you go allows you to take some of the downtime that you're experiencing here, waiting for this to boil or waiting for X or Y to happen, and utilize it and turn it into time that you would otherwise be spending after the meal actually cleaning. I'm not perfect at it, but I do try to clean as I go at least a little bit, just so I can keep everything kind of clean.
Clean as you go to keep everything clean.
I know. It's a brilliant time. Who would have thunk it? So you can stir more than occasionally. Okay. A lot of recipes you see will say like, oh, stir occasionally. Again, that really means every 2 or 3 minutes. However, there is no harm in stirring more than occasionally if you're bored or you just want to get something done or you want to make sure it doesn't stick or whatever else. So we're going to do that.
Shout out to your wonderful camera person.
Shout out to my lovely girlfriend who is operating the gimbal.
I'm thinking what we need to do is get a thingy on wheels to elevate this, and then that way we can just roll it around a little bit easier. What do you think?
I mean, it's kind of stuck to one spot anyway, unless we have a portable battery of some kind, like a portable like an anchor thing. Yes, we can get one, although not right now.
Oh, look, it's boiling.
It is. It's bubble. Bubble, bubble, twirl in trouble.
Careful. Oh, how do I tighten this? There we go.
So what I was saying before with the handle, maybe you weren't able to see it, but now you can. I will see too many households do this. Don't do this. You're just going to run into it or bump it. You're going to end up with pasta sauce and stuff everywhere. Please don't do that. Leave it here, or if you're already using this side, leave it here if you can. Some places, yes, the counter space isn't enough. I've lived in a place that there just wasn't enough counter space. I get that. In that case, leave it here. Or leave it here, or wherever. Just don't leave it sticking out, either like here, or I'll see it here. This is kind of an extreme example. I haven't really ever seen this, but people like leave it here and then they'll go and bump it or something, and it's just not good. So just, it seems, like it should be obvious, and maybe it is obvious to some of you. However, I have seen it enough that I would just warn against that. Maybe you don't realize you're doing it. That's okay. Just acknowledge that, oh yeah, this is something that I should, change, and change it. Life tips with egg. And we are going to use this lemon and this lemon as well. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. However, the thing about acid is it attacks milk. So when you add acidic things to a dish, you want to make sure that if you have milk in there, that you add it at the very end so the acid doesn't start eating at the milk enzymes and start pulling it apart, because otherwise you'll have grainy, greasy, bleh dish. Especially, like I said, dishes with milk in it. So we are going to add the acid. However, we're going to start adding it at the end after it's already been off the heat, because heat will make that acid detect the enzymes holding the bonds together even faster. So we want to make sure that it's not very hot when we add the acid. Again, simply because of the milk. If it were a dish without milk, we would be fine adding it kind of wherever, although I would still just generally add it at the end just because that's a good habit to get into. But yes, we are going to add the acid, but it's going to be at the end. All right, so this is boiled. I would call this a rolling boil at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this all the way down to like 2.5. So basically like low to medium low kind of thing. I would say medium low for this particular oven, and it really depends on the oven. Medium low for this particular oven is around the 4. You can kind of see it there. There we go. So medium low for this particular oven is probably around here or here-ish, so I kind of put it here. But you're going to have to experiment with your oven or your stovetop and see kind of what works best. This isn't a one-size-fits-all. Just medium low to low kind of is where we're aiming for. And it does say cover. It does say cover. Remove from heat, return chicken to pan. That's 10 minutes. Well, stir occasionally, prevent sticking. Wait, hang on. Cover and simmer. There we go. Cover and simmer for 14 to 17 minutes or desired tenderness. Okay. So now that this is simmering and not rolling boil, what I don't have, and what a lot of people won't have, is when they have these big skillets like this, they don't have a large enough lid for them. So I've solved that simply by doing this. It's a good use for the cutting board after it's already been used. Yes, it's wood. Yes, it will absorb the water. However, as long as you wipe it off soon after you're done using it, it's fine. It won't swell or crack. Hi. Look, we actually, it takes us a minute, but we do actually get to a point where we have figured things out. Like I said, if this were a YouTube video, we would have all this figured out already and we wouldn't be having most of these problems, and also you wouldn't see it anyway. So, but it's not. It's a live stream where all the mistakes happen live.
You want to take a break and then come back and...
I'm going to stir it occasionally.
Oh.
A little bit more than occasionally because I'm paranoid, but occasionally.
You're paranoid? I have no idea.
I'm always paranoid. When it comes to milk products, I'm particularly paranoid about things sticking to the bottom of pans. However, this is my own paranoia. You can stir this every 2 to 3 minutes and it'll be fine. I'm just being overly cautious. Now actually, you know what? At this point, I do want to add our cilantro. Now, if it were fresh cilantro, I would want to wait till the end to add it. Because it's dried cilantro, I actually want to add it now. The reason being is that fresh cilantro will start losing its flavor very quickly. Any fresh green herb that you've just cut will tend to lose its flavor very quickly. So you want to add it at the very end of the dish. You don't want to cook it. You want it to stay fresh at the top. However, this cilantro has been dried. So what I want to do is I want to kind of imbue it with a bunch of moisture in order to kind of get its flavor to kind of soak itself out a little bit. So we're going to add the cilantro now. And you can see it's already improved the dish quite a bit. I mean, okay, again, it's not perfect. I'm not slicing fresh cilantro because 1, I don't have cilantro, and 2, you don't have cilantro either. Not fresh anyway. Okay, maybe you do, but you're very lucky. So you would do better to have either fresh cilantro or spinach, which it recommends, or something else to add green to this. However, for a very quick, 10-second shake of this cilantro, it is improved. the color has, well, been made a little bit green. There's little green specks in this white now. It's not all just a white, blonde, blah mess. It's got some green in it. Again, it's not perfect, but for 10 seconds of shaking, that's much better than it was. Gonna cover that again.
What are you looking for?
Just putting this away. I got out the fancy olive oil for this one. Paid $22 for that bottle. $23. I really hope it's from Italy.
What does it say that it was manufactured in Italy?
So here's the thing. None of these will. And that's why it's impossible to tell what's actually from Italy and what's not.
Really?
It is impossible. Unless you actually look up the company and find where it was bottled, and not just where it was bottled, but where the actual olive oil was gained from. Because where it's bottled also doesn't matter, but a lot of them will say bottled in Italy. But that also doesn't matter. It's a fucking mess. Olive oil is a disaster. So you have to either look up the company, or you have to just buy one off the shelf, hope that it's like actually made in Italy, not just bottled in Italy, but made in Italy. And well, I say not just, but not bottled in Italy, but made in Italy. Where it's bottled doesn't matter. As long as the olives themselves are from Italia, then it's fine. But you have to look up the company in order to get that, because none of the bottles will have that information. Or they'll be misleading and they'll have an Italian name and they'll say bottled in Italy, but that doesn't matter.
So it's not bottled in Italy.
No, it was bottled in California, but that doesn't matter. It's where the olives were produced that matters.
No, the olives are from California.
The olives are from California.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I tried. I tried. It's all a scam. That's $22.50 for that bottle. Granted, it's probably good olive oil, but they're all good. The problem is that if you're not buying from Italy or buying olives from Italy, then what you're doing is you're destroying the Italian olive economy, which actually hurts a lot more people than you'd think. So I tried really hard to find something that was actually, the olives were grown in Italy, but I guess I still failed. Sorry, I tried.
Funny is that it says that it's a product of Italy.
Yes,
That's
all of them do. All of them do, and they're all fucking lies. It is actually lies.
Hold on.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's from California.
Yeah, okay. So I tried, I'm sorry. Any Italians watching, my apologies. I did try. I really tried. That was the most expensive bottle on the shelf. So it turns out the most expensive bottle on the shelf is still not actually Italian. It's just expensive. Which is a little bit sad to think about. This actually might be done. Let me taste it. Oh yeah, an important thing about cooking. Taste. Just taste things. I did it bad earlier. I didn't actually taste the chicken that I made. I should have, but I didn't. I'm going to taste this, however.
Interesting.
Hmm.
It says that one of the producers is south of Tuscany.
Okay, interesting. That's very close. It's almost toothsome. It actually sticks to the teeth a little bit too much, but almost there. It's very close. It has enough salt. It does not have any acid at all. So it's going to be important to add some acid to that in a little bit. It has enough salt though, so I'm not going to add any more salt. It is salty enough. I know it kind of takes practice and experience to understand what is salty enough. But generally, you know what salty tastes like. Just, you know what something that's overly salted tastes like, probably. So, kind of go from there. It's the most basic way I can say it, I suppose. I was supposed to add the butter. I totally forgot. It's okay if you fuck up a recipe, too. Again, I probably would have remembered had I not been streaming, but you know, what can you do? I was like, it is missing something. It's missing fat. It was missing fat. Could have used my finger. Should have used my finger. Didn't use my finger. So fat is a flavor carrier. It's not as good as salt. However, it still is a flavor carrier without adding salt. So that's kind of important. And without adding acid. Acid and salt are flavor carriers. Salt is more of a flavor carrier than acid is. Acid does more of a pop than carrying flavors. So I say flavor carriers. What I mean is it actively carries the flavor from the product, from the food to your tongue, to your tongue receptors. Because when you taste things, it's actually receptors in your tongue, obviously. So when I say flavor carriers, what I mean is something that actually actively takes the flavor from the food and carries it to your taste buds. So fat is a really good flavor carrier. Salt is a really good flavor carrier. Acid is an okay flavor carrier. So if you want flavors to go from the food to your tongue effectively, you want to add salt, fat, and acid to your dish. There we go. And since this dish was salty enough, I didn't want to add more salt. And I don't want to add acid yet, and it's not the most fantastic flavor carrier anyway. But I completely forgot to add my fat. So fat is a really good way to carry the flavors from the food to your tongue without adding more salt or without adding acid. But there is a limit to what it can do. So adding more fat at some point is going to be diminishing returns. So we're just going to add what it says and kind of continue on from there. Honestly, it tastes good enough, but yeah. I've got pasta stuck in my teeth now. It was a little bit too toothsome. In fact, it might actually even be done now, but it was a little bit too toothsome there. Okay, so remove the meat, return chicken to pan, let stand for 2 minutes and serve. What? In a skillet, cook chicken until it reaches an internal temperature of 165. Remove and set aside. Add milk, water, butter, seasoning, and pasta to the skillet and bring to a boil. Reduce heat, add spinach if using, cover and simmer for 14 to 17 minutes or desired tenderness. Stir occasionally, prevent sticking. Remove from heat, return chicken to pan, let stand for 2 minutes and serve. I didn't read this. Well, I read this. I didn't read, or maybe I did read this and I skipped over it in my head. Return chicken to pan. It never said take the chicken out of the pan. I think it assumed that you were going to add the milk, water, butter, seasoning, and pasta to the skillet, not to the skillet and chicken.
It literally says remove and set aside in number 1.
Remove and set aside. I'm a fucking moron. I skipped over that in my head. I promise
Also,
I did actually read it before I started this.
Good news.
That's okay.
I have good news.
Uh-huh.
This is actually bottled. This is actually made in Italy.
Made?
The olives are grown in
Yes.
Italy. After doing some more research, however, the company that bottles it
Is in California.
The California.
Yeah, that doesn't matter at all.
Olive. The
Right.
California olive thing, but
That matters less.
It's made in Italy.
Yay! So the olives, that's the important part. The olives are actually sourced from Italy.
Whereas opposed to like this.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, that was like $3. There's no way. Sorry. I mean, maybe, but really there's no way.
No. But yes, you were correct. After some checking, you are correct.
Yay! Okay.
Hold
So we're
on,
gonna
let
add.
me- Before
Okay.
we do that, hold on.
All right. Oh yes, you're seeing me, not the pan. Come see the pan. The pan is what is glorious. It's a little bit far away, but that's okay.
I'm working on it.
No, I was just saying like it's
There.
off the heat.
That's as far as it can go.
Yep, that's fine. Okay, so we are going to add 2 types of acid. We're going to add the zest from the lemon, and we're going to add the juice from the lemon. Normally, when I zest and juice a lemon, I zest and juice the same lemon. This time I fucked up. It happens. Zest the lemon before you juice it is what I'm saying. So the reason that we're
Another
adding...
classic example of do as he says, not as he
Yes, do as I say, not as I do.
And also, do your research before you make claims about olive oil being grown in Italy.
Why?
Because I had to fix your mistake.
Well, I said I didn't know.
Well, that's when you do your research.
Yes, so I didn't exactly have time to do my research while I was shopping. So we're going to add a little bit of this lemon juice. Looks like about half a lemon, a quarter of a lemon, probably a quarter of a lemon there. In this particular dish, more lemon is actually not bad. So we can go over lemon it and it'll actually taste perfectly fine, good even. And we are going to add the lemon zest as well. Now, there is actually a taste difference between the lemon zest and the lemon juice. I unfortunately can't really describe what it is. I'm not a fantastic descriptor of what lemon zest versus lemon juice tastes like. In a dish anyway. You know what? I can taste it right here, and I can kind of describe it as I'm tasting it. Just understand that there is a taste difference between lemon zest and lemon juice. And use both, and then start experimenting. Add more lemon zest or add more lemon juice, and just start experimenting and see what you like better. For me, I like a little of both, depending on the dish. But yeah, I can taste a little bit of lemon zest. Not sweet at all. Very, very potent. My God. That is... It's like if you just bit into a lemon rind. It tastes very lemony, like really punch you in the face lemony. But it's not sweet. It's not sour at all. It's just lemon flavor, and that's all you get. Okay, so if you want this to taste like lemons, you add the lemon zest. Good to know. The lemon juice, I mean, we've all had lemon juice. It's going to punch you in the face. It's going to be a little bit sweet, but it's mostly going to punch you in the face. So you add a little bit of lemon juice and a little bit of lemon zest, and you'll have a lemon-ish tasting thing that actually has acid in it. That's the important part, is the acid. So again, we taste as we go. We always taste as we go. Not add the cayenne yet. Oh wow. I'm gonna double dip. That's because I'm only sharing this with my girlfriend. Normally, if you're doing company, please don't double dip. Use more spoons. A little bit more lemon juice. Exactly. And actually a little bit more lemon zest. Okay. I think that should be comfortable. Again, this is based off experience. That should be comfortable. That should be good. And we're going to add a little bit of cayenne just to give it a little bit of kick. And we're going to add a little bit more. There, that's plenty. That's good. And add a little bit more pepper. I'm going to mix this around. I wasn't lying, this is going to take like an hour and a half. However, normally when I make this, it takes like 20, maybe 30 minutes at most. But since I'm live streaming it, since we're having technical difficulties, this has taken so far like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah. So please note that while you're watching this, and you're like, oh, it's taking so long. Note that it'll take you like 20, 30 minutes for this. Each of these steps is an extra maybe minute. If you really don't have that kind of time, I'm sorry, and some people don't, but most of you will. Just do yourself a favor and make yourself a better quality meal. Add an extra minute, like an extra single minute. Add an extra 2 minutes. And just add these extra little steps and make your food better. Improve your knowledge. Okay. Another spoon. Go for a chicken piece this time. See if I've correctly internally seasoned these. Probably not, because I did not do so beforehand. Oh my god, that's really good. I mean, is it the best thing I've ever tasted in my life? Fuck no. However, for a 20 to 30 minute meal, this thing is awesome. You can make it even better by at this stage adding some tomato, which also, by the way, adds acid. So be careful. Add at the last stage because this has milk. But also remember, adds acid, so it adds a little bit of that punch that you like. Hopefully you like. If not, that's okay. But yeah, this is good. This is done. I again added just a little bit too much cayenne. It came out a little bit too fast at the end, but it wasn't actually nearly as much as I normally add, so that's good. Otherwise, yeah, this is done. This is ready to plate. I'm hungry.
You want to wrap this up?
It's 9 o'clock. I'm going to bed. I'm eating this food. I'm going to bed. Add a tomato. Add some color to it. This has green. Green's fine. Add some red to it. Add a tomato.
You want to say bye?
All right, bye. You guys have fun. Enjoy.